Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and I'm an attorney that assists veterinary associates with employment contract and independent contractor agreement issues. Today I'm going to talk about veterinary compensation mistakes to avoid. So, if you're either a new grad in your first position, or perhaps you're switching jobs and the compensation is much different in your new position, what are some things to think about? And then some mistakes to avoid. So first, kind of understanding how compensation works when it comes to collections. Obviously, if you're on a straight base salary, it's very simple. You do the work, you get paid, that's it. If you're on a ProSal method, then yes, you may be getting some kind of base draw, but ultimately, whatever you produce is going to be what you actually make. And let me walk through that real quick. So you always want at least a minimum amount of time when you're guaranteed an amount of money. So usually the first year is the minimum amount that I would want as a veterinary associate, meaning you'll have either a guaranteed base salary or a guaranteed daily minimum or something like that, which allows you to ramp up your practice over time. Now, maybe if you're doing, relief work, or you're in emergency veterinary medicine or even urgent care, then it might not be as necessary to have a guaranteed base salary. But if you're in like a small animal clinic and you're kind of building up, a base of clients, then you absolutely want at least some guaranteed amount, simply because it takes time to build up. Usually somewhere between 18 months is a standard amount of time for practice to reach maturity. And so ideally what you would have is if they want you to have some kind of ProSal or collections-based model, a guaranteed amount for year one, and then you would transition into whatever the productivity-based compensation would be. And a normal amount or a normal kind of situation would be a percentage of whatever is collected. Now, it kind of varies pretty greatly in the veterinary industry. I know most ProSal methods are somewhere between like 18 to 22%. Ideally, you would get more than that. And so an easy way to do it would be every month. They determine what your percentage of collections were, and then that's what you would get paid. Normally, and as I mentioned before, there'd be some kind of base draw. So how they would determine that they would take your first year's compensation and then determine how productive you were, and then they would back that off maybe to 80 to 85%, and then that's what you would get on a either per period or per month basis as your base. And then they would do a reconciliation at the end of the month or perhaps the end of the quarter. And then assuming you made more than what they gave you in your base draw, then you would get a bonus. In some ProSal methods, or at least most, you would carry forward a negative balance. So this is why you want a guaranteed amount in year one. If they paid out more than what you actually brought in, then you'd have a negative balance, and then that would carry forward to the next month or quarter, which I'd say most veterinary associates should avoid. Next, what is deducted from your compensation if they're determining a collections-based model? You have lab fees, supplies, sometimes support staff costs. So you need to look into how are they defining net collections. Ideally, just based on production would be great, meaning whatever they charge is what you get the percentage of, although most places don't do that. It'll be a percentage of what they actually collect. Now, in veterinary medicine, the percentage between what is actually billed versus collected is very high compared to some other industries like physicians or dentists. When they're relying primarily on insurance, you can move down the percentage a decent amount. But in veterinary medicine, for the most part, people are paying cash pay, and so you should receive all of them, whatever was billed to the clients. But look into what kind of fees are taken out as well. Payment timing is important as well. It should be very clear in the contract when you are paid your bonus. So let's say you're on a production model and maybe they do a reconciliation every quarter, then you want it in your contract that one, you will receive that money within 14 days of the end of the quarter. And then 2, you will receive any earned bonuses regardless of whether you're employed at the time it's paid out or not. I've had places that a vet has earned a bonus, and then they've given notice in the interim, and then the practice sits on paying out that bonus, and then there's language in the contract that says they have to be employed at the time the bonus is paid, and then they're kind of out of luck because they haven't been paid the bonus, and then their contract is terminated. So those are some mistakes to avoid, and maybe a little explanation on veterinary compensation. If you have any questions about your employment contract or independent contractor agreement, feel free to contact my law firm. Our information is listed below in the description, and I appreciate you watching the video. All right, take care.